Hello everyone, my name is Samantha and I am a library assistant at the Willard Branch Library. Today I will be sharing with you the trip I took to Ireland during the summer of 2019, where I spent a month for a study abroad program through the University of Missouri. During this program I studied Irish literature and arts. The program was based out of Galway, so most of my time was spent there, but we also took day trips to other areas of interest in the west of Ireland, and I spent a day in Dublin as well before flying back home. This travelogue will consist of my experiences in Galway as well as my adventures to other beautiful locations within Ireland.
I flew to Ireland from Moher International Airport in Chicago. The airport had a foreign currency exchange service, so I was able to obtain some pocket money to carry with me. I had flown on an airplane several times before, but never completely by myself and never over the ocean. So I was a little nervous, but it went completely fine. I thought being over the water would scare me, but honestly I was hardly aware of it. By the time we got over the Atlantic Ocean, all you could see were clouds, so it felt the same as flying over land. The flight itself was only about 8 to 9 hours long. The next morning I arrived in Dublin. I left the United States in the evening, so I think that made it a little easier to adjust to the 6-hour time difference, since I had been sleeping for most of the plane ride. Next, I took a bus to Galway from the airport. It was about a 2.5-hour drive from Dublin. The island of Ireland covers around 33,000 square miles, which is similar in size to the state of Indiana, so cross-country travel doesn't take as long as it does here in the States. Ireland has good bus services to the different cities and popular tourist locations, so it's definitely possible to visit there without needing to rent a car to get around. In fact, I think it might be better to not attempt to drive, since in Ireland they drive on the opposite side of the road. While I was looking out the windows on the bus ride, seeing the cars going in what felt like the wrong way was very strange, so I think trying to drive there would get a little confusing. Galway is a port city in the western region of Ireland. It is the 6th most populated city on the island of Ireland and the 4th most populated in the Republic of Ireland. Galway was founded in the 13th century and during the Middle Ages was the principal Irish port for trade with Spain and France. Now in the 21st century, the city is a popular tourist destination and is known for hosting numerous festivals, celebrations, and events. It has a population of around 80,000 people and continues to grow. Galway is a very walkable city, and most places I could access within 20 to 30 minutes. There is a lot of beautiful scenery and walkways within the city, so traveling by foot was very enjoyable. In the picture on the left, if you look closely at the water, you can see that there are people standing in it. Fishermen would stand in the middle of the water to catch fish, which was fun to watch. Galway has a large population of swans, and you can see some when you walk along the canals. They were very cute, and it was fun to just sit and watch them swim around. Swans are a common theme in Irish literature. In Irish folklore, swans are thought to represent the souls of the dead, and it was considered bad luck to harm or kill them. The city of Galway also has a lot of pigeons everywhere, and unfortunately, I did get pooped on by one of them, so that is something to look out for. But luckily, that was the only piece of bad luck that I had during my trip. Galway has many places for visitors to stay, including hotels, Airbnbs, and bed and breakfasts. But during my trip, I stayed in the dorms at the University of Galway. My dorm room was in a shared apartment with other people in my study abroad program, and we all shared a kitchen and a living room. Dorms here are different from the ones in the United States. Instead of having a roommate, each of us got our own small room with a bed, desk, and bathroom. Since the average high in Galway during the month of July is 67 degrees Fahrenheit and the average low is 55 degrees, the dorm didn't have any air conditioning. This is true for a lot of buildings in Ireland. They don't need it since it doesn't get very hot in the summers. Because of this, my dorm room sometimes got a little stuffy, so I almost always had the window open during the day. As someone who doesn't really enjoy the heat, I didn't mind the cooler summer temperatures. For one of my courses, we studied Irish literature from the classics such as William Butler Yeats, Oscar Wilde, and James Joyce. We also studied contemporary Irish authors and poets such as Mary O'Malley, who lives in Galway and spoke to us and read some of her poetry. Ireland has a strong literary tradition and many well-known authors and poets, so if those are things you are interested in, you will find a visit here to be very meaningful and worthwhile. During my study abroad program, we also attended 2 festivals. The Galway International Arts Festival generally takes place in July and features both Irish and international events such as music performances, plays, operas, visual art programs, talks, and street performances. I went to many different events, including a performance by Irish rapper Kojak, as well as Salome, which was a ballet interpretation of Oscar Wilde's one-act tragedy. The cool thing about this performance was that it was completely in Irish, but they also had English subtitles on a screen above the stage. I watched several plays, attended some traditional Irish music performances in pubs, and went to a few talks. This festival was an interesting way to learn about Irish culture as well as cultures around the world. One of my favorite art exhibitions that I saw during the festival was titled In the Flesh and was created by Australian sculptor Sam Jinks. The pieces in this exhibit were so lifelike that it was almost frightening. These hyper-realistic representations of the human body were created to reflect a sense of intimacy and vulnerability, and they were certainly very interesting to look at. I also attended the Galway Film Flead, which is the Irish word for festival. The Irish film industry has grown within the past few decades, and the film, TV, and animation sector in Ireland is estimated to be worth over €692 million. The film festival included about 100 different feature films, shorts, classics, foreign language, animated, and documentary films from 36 different countries. 2 films at the festival really stood out to me. One of them was titled Ghost Tropic and was a film about an immigrant woman in Brussels who accidentally falls asleep on the subway and has to make her way home on foot in the middle of the night. She has a series of interesting encounters as she slowly makes her way back home. My other favorite was a short film titled El Hor, the name in reference to an Egyptian pharaoh who is primarily known for his nearly intact tomb. The short film was about life and death through the eyes of the Saluki, an ancient dog breed that is often referred to as the royal dog of Egypt, because the Egyptian nobility considered them valuable and honored companions and were known to mummify them. The film was very abstract and creepy, but also very interesting. I saw one well-known actor I had previously heard of at the festival. His name is Will Poulter, and he has been in several movies you might recognize, such as We're the Millers, The Maze Runner, and the Black Mirror interactive film Bandersnatch. One of the best parts of the festival was the food stalls. There was one in particular that I came back to 5 or 6 times. It was called Ava Nice Day, and its entire menu consisted of food made with avocados, such as avocado toast and deep-fried avocado rolls. Unfortunately, I can't tell if they are still up and running since their social media pages haven't been updated since 2019, but I definitely recommend this place. Galway had a wide variety of restaurants, and I only had a chance to try a fraction of them. Here are some of the restaurants that I would recommend to anyone who goes there. First up is McDonagh. If you are in the mood for some classic fish and chips or seafood, this restaurant is perfect. It had a long line because of its popularity, but it was worth it. Sheehan Street Food is a place I went several times throughout my month-long trip and was perfect for a quick but delicious meal. The whole time I was in Ireland, I was searching for some authentic shepherd's pie, and I found it here at Riordan's Traditional Irish Cafe. The cafe specializes in affordable and traditional Irish cuisine. The Quay Street Kitchen was a nice break from some of the heavier foods I was eating, and their salads were delicious. They had many healthy food options, as well as vegetarian and vegan options. The Pie Maker is a cozy restaurant that serves savory and sweet pies. It's a good place for comfort food and was at a reasonable price. Cup on Tay, which is Irish for a cup of tea, is a cute little tea shop that also sells pastries and desserts. While I am not really a tea person, I did enjoy going there, and the slice of coffee and walnut cake that I got made everything worth it. If you enjoy books, which I assume most of the people watching this probably do, Charlie Burns Bookshop is a place you will want to make sure you stop at if you ever visit Ireland. Charlie Burns is a well-known and loved independent bookstore in Galway that houses over 100,000 new, bargain, and second-hand books. The store is comfortably cluttered. It was fun to search through the shelves because there was stuff on almost any topic imaginable. The used books were particularly fun to look at. I got a couple of books from the bookstore. One of them was a book of poetry. The other was a book I found in the second-hand book section. It's called Phantom Britain and is a book about different ghost sightings that have happened in Britain. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I'm sure it will be really interesting. About once a week we would travel and go to different places in the western part of Ireland. On one of those trips we went to Connemara, a district in Western Ireland that faces the Atlantic. Its coastline has tiny coves, bays, and fishing villages. We toured the small fishing village of Roundstone. This small fishing village was very pleasant, and I wish I would have been able to spend more time in it. First, we stopped for a late breakfast at a cute cafe called the Bog Bean, where I got a delicious almond pastry. After walking around for a little while, we stopped at O'Dowd's, where I got some creamy seafood chowder. After that, our tour guide took us on a walk around the countryside of the village. The views were amazing and we saw many animals such as horses and sheep and learned about what life is like in the Irish countryside. The Aran Islands are a group of 3 islands at the mouth of the Galway Bay. Inishmore is the largest of the 3 and is a popular tourist destination. We took a ferry to get to Inishmore. Once on the island, you can rent bikes to travel around. The area of the island is 12 square miles, and there are some hills, so it's nice that they also have a bus as well as a horse-drawn carriage that people can take. The island had some beautiful scenery, and being able to look at these views on my bike instead of through the window of a car made it even more beautiful. The island had some nice beaches, although the water was too cold to swim in. I really liked the picture on the left, because even though you can't really appreciate just how beautiful the view was in this picture, it was magnificent. I remember thinking to myself that if I had to be an animal, I would want to be this goat and sit all day in the gentle breeze, staring out at the ocean. We then climbed up to the cliffs of the island. These cliffs were breathtaking. The feeling of seeing the ocean expand out indefinitely was both beautiful and terrifying. The Cliffs of Moher are Ireland's most popular tourist attraction and welcomes more than 1 million visitors each year. Luckily, the crowds of people don't distract you from the beauty of the cliffs. The cliffs are very high and therefore dangerous, but there is a wall that helps protect people from falling off. Just like with the cliffs at Inishmore, the beauty of these cliffs are indescribable. The view was so sublime, and it's not an exaggeration that it brought tears to my eyes. It's hard to tell from pictures just how massive these cliffs are. If you look closely, You can see tiny people across the way on the trail next to the cliffs that help give an idea of the scale of these cliffs. Walking along the trail, you are able to get a little closer to the edge of the cliffs if you desire. Some very popular movies have featured the Cliffs of Moher, such as Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. When Harry and Dumbledore are about to look for a Horcrux, there's a scene where they are standing on a rock with waves crashing around them and cliffs looming overhead. The cliffs in the movie are the Cliffs of Moher. The Cliffs of Moher are also in another popular movie, The Princess Bride. The cliffs are used as the establishing shot for the Cliffs of Insanity. Before I knew it, the month was up and it was time for me to fly back home. I left Galway early in the morning so that I would have some time to explore Dublin before I left. I dropped my luggage off at the airport and then went to explore the city. I only had a few hours, so I knew I didn't have time to do much. I stopped at a cafe and got breakfast. I also visited Trinity College, which is Ireland's most prestigious university. It is the setting for many novels and films. One popular example is the novel Normal People by Sally Rooney and its television adaptation where the main characters attend the university. I took a guided tour of the university that included a walkthrough of the library. Here, they had an exhibit that featured the Book of Kells. The Book of Kells is an ancient manuscript that was created by monks around 1200 years ago. It is an illuminated manuscript that contains the 4 Gospels of the New Testament, and it is one of the most important pieces of Celtic art still in existence. It was very enriching to learn about. Thank you for joining me for this travelogue, and I hope you have enjoyed hearing about my experiences in Galway and around Ireland.